thinking I was gonna get to talk to Chuck, and Chuck didn't show up.
No, man.
He said make an
guy's the
appointment,
pro
make an,
cruise
he said
man,
make
right
an,
at 7.
make an appointment at his office.
He knows about
He'll see
billable
you.
hours.
Yeah, I don't wanna over.
That's what it is. He was being a good
Yeah.
step for the community.
Make an appointment and see the secretary for payment.
Good to see you, sir.
How you doing, sir? Ready?
Very good. Yes, sir. I guess. Ready or not, here it comes.
Exhibit 13. Ask me if you want to. 10 foot. Is it? The platform. 10 foot. So.
I don't know who any of these folks are. I'm gonna hold on to this for now because the public comment period ain't for a minute. How are you?
Just heads up. I didn't, the thing was so small, it took me a while to realize it's that good.
Corporate taxes that are due tomorrow.
Jones?
Hey, young man, you all right?
You doing well, good to see you.
I got 2 more for you.
All right, Mr. Winfrey, how you
Hey,
doing?
good to see you. You all right?
Yeah, man, you?
Have you already got one of these, Mr. Young?
No.
I got you. There's another one. And then there's, this
Here's
is
the,
regarding the Board of Adjustment case.
What I, yeah, I just put in their name,
Extra copy.
it's their property,
Okay.
but they're, when we do it to somebody else.
I'll lay this here for
He stole your seat.
What are you looking for?
copy of this. If you, I've given Mr. Winfrey one, so I can give it to him.
Okay, well, I know you're.
I got you. How are you?
I'm good. and you?
Good. You want
And,
that
you know, That's for the press. You got moved over there.
extra copy?
That's for the press.
Where all the important people
I
sit.
see my name.
The important people are over there. We're just the ones that just talk all the time.
We just sit here.
You don't wanna sit by us, I promise, cause the heat's coming this way.
Where's that? Jimmy, can I borrow that?
Oh,
I'm
they
gonna make a copy of
have a
that.
monitor in here?
That'll be fine.
They did.
Hello.
There is one up there, isn't there, in the ceiling?
Oh, no.
I'm almost certain there's one in that
What are you looking for?
Is there a monitor up there?
Yeah.
I don't think,
I haven't seen it the last couple of meetings, but yeah, it's
oh, here's the new development.
covered, that's about it.
So, got your label too. Oh, see, it says,
I've got the old version.
that may have been a typo, so what I did was I put 1 to 9, of course I put 9. And one of them had, the parcel number was one of them, but I assumed typo, so I checked the 16.
Well, some trees to do this meeting.
I basically pulled this from one.
Yes, ma'am. Hey, I get to
Right,
sit over here with the phone. I know.
and, oh, so, I wanted to go over, if I took it on the slide present, on the PowerPoint, I took out the
Jim,
discrepancy. or discrepancy
you ready?
section.
Y'all ready?
Yes.
But otherwise, the presentation seems forward, but that one,
So we can try it again, but it wasn't connected to the computer.
Always special calls.
and I hope
Say that
Bobby
again.
took it out. Took out that.
Where's all the minutes?
I put it straight like there.
That was, okay, that was reading.
Yeah. You're on a minute. Yeah. You talking about
How we're not gonna give them back then?
number 7?
Yeah, I guess if it's on YouTube, they can freeze the YouTube.
Yeah, those are special call meetings.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I done read them, but don't even know.
We'll try it again. The remote's over there behind my desk, but I couldn't get it connected to the television earlier.
Okay,
Here's 2 copies I'm gonna give you.
that's fine. I just lowered it. I didn't know.
You ready?
Yeah, almost, yeah.
Robbie, do we need a recorder up here?
Oh, yeah.
Who's on YouTube?
Where's my recorder?
All right. Good evening, folks. Today is Thursday, March 14th, 2024 at 7 p.m. This is the Town of Stokesdale regularly scheduled Town Council meeting. First meeting of order is calling a meeting to order. Then we have our Pledge of Allegiance. If you would please join me. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Next up is the invocation. I'd like to welcome Associate Pastor Ben Pyatt from Oak Level Church, Baptist Church.
Let's pray. Heavenly Father, Lord, we want to say thank you, dear God, that we're able to be here tonight, Lord. We thank you, dear God, for concerned citizens, Lord, of this town, Father, Lord, of faithful men and women, Lord, who strive to do their best, Lord God, to make sure everything runs smoothly. Father, we pray, dear God, that tonight, Lord, you'd give wisdom, Lord, and leadership where it's needed. That, Father, everything done will glorify you, Lord. That we'll get the help that we need. And, Lord, that you would be pleased with all that is done. And it's in Christ's holy name we do pray. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you, sir. All right, next up is review and adopt the agenda. Gentlemen, I'll entertain a motion to review and adopt the agenda, or if you have any additions, we can do that too.
Mr. Foy, I'd like to add an item. That would be a discussion with Summerfield Town Council member, Mr. Heath Clay, and a possible vote to support Summerfield in its fight against de-annexation.
Okay. Tim, I'm going to suggest, especially with Mr. Clay being here, to respect his time, that we put this in new business at number 14 and a half, after the discussion of town planner about the developmental ordinance. Will that work for you?
It works for me if there's no objection from council.
All right. And that is discussion with council member Heath Clay about the Summerfield de-annexation. Okay. We have that change. With that change, I'll entertain a motion to adopt the agenda.
Excuse me.
All right.
I forgot myself here. Hold on just a second. Mr. Foy, item number 15, the town clerk and I are waiting on some information from Guilford County, and that document is not quite ready yet. Going to ask council that be continued to our next meeting.
Yes, sir. Are there any revisions to the agenda? With that, I'll make a motion that we approve the agenda with those two changes.
I'll second.
We have a motion, we have a second. Is there any discussion? I'll call the vote. Jim?
Aye.
I'm aye. Jimmy?
Aye.
And Tim?
Aye.
All right, motion carries. Next up, presentation of Girl Scout Gold Award Project. I would like to welcome Miss Kavisha Abakun. Kavisha is a 10th grade student at Northwest High School. She's here to present the Girl Scout Gold Award Project for Stokesdale Town Park.
Yes. Oh, yes, thank you so much.
Hey, T, would you mind, maybe aiming, well, never mind. We've only got one TV, so
Thank you.
we're gonna see if we can aim it
Actually, we
another
have
way.
6. Welcome, Kavisha. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, ma'am.
Here we go. All right.
Hi, my name is Kavisha Abikon. I'm a 10th grader in Northwest Guilford High School, and I'm in the Girl Scout troop 41738. So this is my project. It's called the Pollinator Conservation Project. Next slide.
Oh, yes.
Thank you.
I'm slacking.
Wake up, brother.
So this is my agenda. We can get past that. Sorry.
That's okay.
So first, what is a Girl Scout Gold Award? A Girl Scout Gold Award is when Girl Scouts develop and plan out a lasting solution to a problem they see in their society, in their community, and beyond. There are usually 5 elements to a Girl Scout Gold Award. One is it must address a root cause of that issue. So like an example would be for food insecurity. The root cause would be lack of availability of those food sources. The second one would be having a national or global link. Many Girl Scouts do this through websites or social media. The third element of a Girl Scout Gold Award is showing leadership, either whether it's guiding people through an event or teaching kids about a subject. Either way, it must show a leadership. And the fourth one, it must be sustainable. A project that's sustainable is a project that continues to have impact in the community they served even after the project was completed. Lastly, it must have measurable impact. So either through a survey or some other concept or Google form, they must have measure the impact they had on their community. Thank you. So this is the introduction. Last summer, I started volunteering in the Greensboro Science Center in the Butterfly Garden. And throughout the summer, I was amazed by how graceful these butterflies were. And I started researching about what butterflies and what their impacts were. And as I started researching about other pollinators, and I realized their importance. And that's why I decided to make my project about the endangerment of pollinators, because they are decreasing in population and they're necessary for us. Pollinators are crucial to the health of our ecosystems and to the health of our beings. Most of our food sources that we need are from pollinators. 80% of our flowering plants and 35% of food sources are created or contributed by pollinators. So they are essential for us as human beings and for ecosystems around us. However, pollinator populations has been declining in the last 2 to 3 decades. 40% of pollinator populations has declined in the past decade. 60% of bee populations has decreased, with 90 to 80% of monarch butterfly populations. So the root causes that I wanted to address with the issue of endangerment was, 1, habitat loss. Because one of the main reasons that populations of pollinators are decreasing is because of us, because we are causing them habitat loss. Habitat that pollinators need in order to survive are decreasing. Native vegetation are decreasing because of new constructions such as roads and houses and buildings. When pollinators lose their habitats, they lose their food sources and their nesting sites. So I want to address that issue through my project. The second one, which does not directly cause pollinator populations to decrease, but is essential for us to have pollinator populations to go back into a stable size. And that is the lack of awareness of the importance of pollinators and the fact that they are declining in size. If we can bring awareness to this important project, more people are become aware, and that we can help bring action in order to bring a stable population size for the butterfly, not just butterflies, pollinator populations. Next one. So, in conclusion, my primary goals through my project was, 1, spread awareness about the importance of pollinators through classes. And the second one was providing habitat for these pollinator species through my garden that I hope to build in the Stokesdale Park.
Great.
So here is my plan. The first one is I want to create an online and in-person class for students that consists of 30 to 45 minutes of poster or online presentation that describes about the importance of pollinators. I hope to have my presentation to include an introduction, what are pollinators, types of pollinators, because pollinators are not just butterflies and bees. There's moths and bats that are essential to build our food crops and the ecosystem around us. I also would like to define the importance of pollinators and why they are declining. The last 15 to 30 minutes of my lessons, I would like to create an activity where the students will create seed bombs, where they can bring that seed bomb to their homes and they can start their own garden to put together both the lack of awareness and the habitat loss in which students can create habitats in their own backyards. The second part of my project is what involves the Stokesdale Park, and it's a garden in Stokesdale Park that consists of plants that are necessary for each stages of pollinators. So I will not only have flowers for pollinators such as bees and butterflies, but I will also have milkweed that is necessary for monarch butterflies. I would also like to build a post that contains a QR code to a website that can educate about pollinators to park goers once they see my butterfly garden and they would want to know what more to it. They can go to the website to educate themselves about the pollinators, and it also will contain an outline on how to build their own pollinator garden, so I can once again bring the awareness and habitat loss together to create a more stabilizing population for pollinators. Next slide. Thank you. So this is my right now my estimate for the garden parameters. I want to create a 6 foot of the length times 4 foot for the width, the width, and then 2 feet for the height. This is still a modification, and if there's any this is still an estimate, so if there's any modification needed, I am willing to work with that. And this is an example of the wood post I would like to attach next to the butterfly garden. That would consist of a QR code and maybe some more information in case the park goer does not have a phone, so they can still have information they need. So this is my budget for the garden. Comes out to around $500. The beds in the woods cost the most with like $350. However, and then there's also metal posts, soil, and seeds, which are the most important items for my garden. The funding comes through mainly 3 ways, and one is a troop. My Girl Scout troop has a set amount of money that is given to each Girl Scout for their gold awards. The estimate, the actual number has not been defined yet, but it's a set amount that I can use for my project. I also plan on getting donations from hardware stores because I researched about this and they are prone to give out donations of wood. So I hope to bring down the cost of the beds and woods through donations. And then also I plan on having some personal fundraising in order to support for the rest of my project. And lastly, this is my timeline for it. Right now, I just finished my project proposal. Well, I'm almost finishing my project proposal. And in April, May, and June is my months where I actually create my garden. I hope to be creating the flowering plants in April and then moving them into the garden in the middle of April, so butterflies can have can have habitats during May and June, and then my final project will be finished in August. But once again, because of sustainability, I hope to have a long-lasting impact in this community through the continuation of this garden. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Kavisha, do you mind if I ask a question?
Yeah, I
So
don't mind.
what are the next steps you need from us? How can we support?
So right
this going
now,
forward?
I'm sorry. Sorry.
Yeah,
So
that's
right
okay.
now, I just completed my project proposal, and the project proposal does require a signature from the community agency, so I'm hoping Stokesdale Park, and it takes around a month for that to get approved.
Okay.
And afterward, I just need the building space for my garden, for the raised beds.
Okay. Do you have a specific spot on the property that you would like to see?
I have looked at it. I have looked at it like last week, and I don't really have a specific spot, but I just hope to have a spot that's near a sidewalk, not too near, but near a sidewalk, so that park goers can see it and start to wonder what this pollinator garden is, and they can have the QR code from the wood post that's nearby to spread awareness.
Great, great. Well, gentlemen, what are your thoughts here? What should be our next steps as the governing board?
Well, I'm 100% for it. I mean, you need to find a place you're gonna get sunshine, as much sunshine as you can. And, but, you know, whatever we gotta do, I mean.
I think we could make a motion and allow it contingent upon Mr. Rigsby's approval of the placement of this exhibit.
Okay.
Whatever you want to call it.
I'll second.
Since there's no location,
Okay.
so I'll make that a motion that we'll approve this project as described with the stipulation that Mr. Rigsby has to approve its location.
Okay. And this is Mr. Rigsby right here.
Hi.
He's a town council member and chairman of our property committee here, so y'all will work well together. Jim's a great guy.
So, yeah, the one question I would have is just, what are the requirements as far as sunlight? Does it, does it need to be, in direct sunlight or 50% or?
It would need like direct sunlight, but it does not require that much because it's flowering plants, and flowering plant doesn't always require direct sunlight. But I would like an area where there is, because that would enhance their growing.
So let us look at it and discuss it. And Robbie, do you have her information?
Yeah, yes, I do.
So,
I've got her email address.
Let us look at it, and once we kind of come up with a couple sites that we think would work, then we will reach back out, and maybe if you come up here during the day, Robbie will be here. He'll know where the sites are, and you can look at them and make sure they work for you as well, and then we'll move forward from there.
Thank you.
Right. So we have a motion and a second to move forward with Ms. Kavisha's Girl Scout project and work with property committee chair Jim Rigsby on this. Is there any further discussion? All right, I'll call question. Jim?
Aye.
I'm aye. Jimmy?
Aye.
And Tim?
Aye.
Aye. Great job, Kavisha. We look forward
Thank
to
you.
working with you and seeing the project. Thank you.
Sorry, is it possible to have a signature, because from the project proposal, oh, never mind. Thank you.
I do. Can I ask one more question? So, as far as like long-term sustaining, would this be something that needs to be weeded, or what's the long-term plan for keeping the viability of it up?
Most of my plants, I'm hoping to have perennial plants, but I would need some yearly maintenance. I plan on coming here to maintain it twice a year, like after I leave for college, but it will need some maintenance.
Okay, and we can discuss, and I mean, without seeing it, there may be something we need to just discuss going forward, just so it doesn't fall into disrepair.
Yeah.
At certain times or whatever.
Okay. So. I understand. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Great job. All right, a fantastic Scout presentation. We'll segue right into another fantastic Scout presentation. We have Mr. Andrew Niesel here. Andrew is here to present his Eagle Scout project. Andrew is with Boy Scout Troop 139 in Oak Ridge. He's attended, I believe, 3 town park improvement committees, and he's going to talk to us about nature trails.
Thank you.
Welcome, Andrew.
All right, so hello, my name is Andrew Niesel, and I'm with Troop 139 in Oak Ridge. And recently I went to the Eagle Board and got my project approved to build the trail here. So I'll be starting on that in like May or June. And so it'll so the trail will connect to the walking path, and it's on the 2 plots of land, the one across from the town park back here, and then there's one behind the soccer fields. And together they're about 0.8 miles, the 2 like in the woods areas. And then the ones that are like connected to the trail, like together, it'll be about 1.4 miles. So yeah, and then there's on the pages in the back, there's the last 4 pages. And if you look back there, there's the maps. So that's the like the whole thing zoomed out. That's including the actual like paved trails. So it'll go back in the woods. There's a property back there that belongs to someone, so it kind of has to come back in, but it'll go behind the basketball hoops and then loop back around, then connect to the trail, and then we'll go down there to back to like the property behind Stokesdale Elementary, which is about 3.8 acres. 3.8 acres, something like that. And then it'll go back there, and then it'll loop back up through the soccer field area, not through it, but on the pavement trail, and then it'll come back and it'll form a loop.
Very good. And Andrew, you've already flagged off a lot of this. I've actually walked where you flagged off in the back here. That's a cool piece of property that a lot of folks probably haven't seen, you know, there at the creek and the slope of the land. It's gonna be a great project.
Thank you.
Andrew, I walked your trail, the whole trail, and you did an excellent job. It's flagged real well. Those pipes that you were talking about, those are tobacco flue pipes from, where they had, that's what they're real thin. They're not even heavy, but, it's kind of a piece of history sitting back there in the woods.
Yeah.
I don't know where the barn's at, but it's gone. But you did a great job,
Thank you.
and I can't wait to walk it without briars.
Yeah. We did a citizen survey, it's been about 3-4 years ago, but the number one things that folks wanted to see, as far as park improvements goes, were nature trails. So, you know, when we bought this property right here, the 10 acres a couple of years ago, you know, my vision personally, I can't speak for these guys, was, you know, to preserve most of those woods and have nature trails. So this is just great.
Thank you.
Are there any questions from the board for Andrew? Andrew has gotten approval from his, the Scout Governing Board to move forward with this project, and I believe we made a motion last time to continue, or to at least continue discussions with this, but I'll go ahead and make a motion now, and then if you gentlemen have any questions or anything, we can do that, but I'll get a motion on the floor to work, for the town of Stokesdale to work with Mr. Andrew Niesel for the installation of nature trails as proposed to town council in this meeting. Thank you.
I'll second that motion.
All right. Does anybody have any questions for Andrew?
I'll ask the same question. Going forward, what's the plan to maintain, or is there a plan, or is that something that would be turned over to the town? How does that generally work?
My troop will it'll be a mixture between both the town and the troop, but I think my troop will definitely have work days on it. If it gets into like poor maintenance or poor condition, we can definitely have some work days out there.
I would also offer all these trail lovers that did the survey, they can feel free to come help us out to
Yes.
further maintain that.
The park committee chairman can,
Yeah,
too.
exactly.
I mean, it's a nature trail. You can jump up
Councilman
a
Landry.
branch once in a while.
But, so we have a motion, we have a second. Is there any further discussion?
Mr. Foy, I would like to be sure that we retain this for our records as a reference document connected to this motion, Mr. Wagner. But my only question here is, and this is not necessarily a duty that we need to impose on an Eagle Scout Service project proposal, but we need to make sure we don't stray over into, inadvertently onto an adjoining property line, across the line somehow. Does anybody know how close we are to any of these adjoining neighbors as far as, the number of feet between the proposed trail and the closest property line?
So the closest it gets is about 10 feet to the nearest property line on the far side of it. So the end of the trail is about 10 feet from the closest property line. That's the closest it gets.
When you say the far, northeast, west, which side are we speaking about?
So is it the basketball and pickleball side or back here?
It's in the back there.
Okay. Where the basketball courts are?
In the back behind the soccer fields.
Soccer fields.
Yeah, you didn't look like you was too close. I mean, I walked the trail, and
I did too.
I mean, I'm gonna tell you, you feel like you're out in, you're out in the woods.
Yeah.
So it doesn't look, it don't look like it's going to impose on, the Hendricks or anybody up there. Now back here, it goes down. You didn't really get too close to the creek, except, it's one place back there, and then it cut back up a hill. I mean, it was quite a walk.
Oh, I think this represents a tremendous value to the town once completed.
Absolutely.
I'm particularly interested in the pizza. I might have to come and spend some time here at least long enough to get into the pizza box, but, myself. But that's just my one concern, that we somehow don't stray over to across a property line somewhere,
Absolutely,
so.
absolutely.
You know,
If he cuts it like it's marked, he's not gonna stray on property.
Right.
Okay, well, I have to admit, I haven't been down there, so I'll have
I've
to
walked
take
the-
your word
I've
for it
walked
there.
the trail, so,
You feel good about it?
yeah.
And if I recall, Andrew and his family, when they were marking this off, they had their phone out in GIS at the same time where they marked, you can identify exactly where you're standing on GIS. And they were well within, you know, the property boundaries. I'm not saying that GIS is 100% accurate, but I think what I'm trying to say is you were mindful of the property boundaries when you went through this.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah, I'm just saying we have that responsibility.
Yeah, well, it is, he's fine, unless he cuts another trail.
Yeah.
If he cuts another trail, we'll never know where it might be.
Wonderful. All right. Any further discussion?
Do you and Mr. Landreth accept Mr. Jones's friendly amendment to retain the package? I just want to put that for the record.
I mean, I think we should do that anyway. Yeah,
Consider it
yeah, I
accepted.
accept it. Yeah, what about you, Derek?
Oh, yeah, I
Yeah,
mean,
well, that's no problem.
all right. So, Jim?
I'm aye.
I'm I. Jimmy?
Aye?
Tim?
Aye.
All right, motion passes. Great projects. Thank y'all very much.
Thank you.
Yeah. All right, next up on the agenda, consideration of appointment of an alternate member to the Town of Stokesdale Board of Adjustment. At the advice of our attorney, he recommended it is a good practice to have an alternate member of your Board of Adjustment, much like we do our planning board. And I spoke with Mr. Chris Sumner. Chris is our chairman of our planning board as of this year, as of January, but before that, he was our vice chair of the planning board. I think Chris will be an excellent addition to serve when needed as the alternate member of the Town of Stokesdale's Board of Adjustment. So I'm going to make a motion to appoint Chris Sumner as an alternate member to the Town of Stokesdale's Board of Adjustment.
I'll second the motion.
Yeah, you can have that.
All right, we have a motion, a second. Is there any discussion? Chris is here. If we have any questions, I have none. All right, Jim?
Aye.
I'm I. Jimmy?
Aye?
And Tim?
Aye.
All right, motion passes.
Would you like for me to go ahead and give him his oath?
We will, and I'm going to talk about how we're going to, you can go ahead and start on that. Guys, from here on, what's going to happen next is we are going to take a recess from the town council meeting. We're not going to leave or anything, but we're going to re-adjourn as a Board of Adjustments. This is not a frequent thing for the town of Stokesdale, but certainly we do this, we need to do this from time to time, and we would do so tonight. The Board of Adjustment hearing is a little different than town council. It's an evidentiary hearing. It's more judicial in nature as opposed to legislative or administrative, if you will. So there's, it's very regimented, and Chuck and Robbie may further explain that. But Robbie, if you could go ahead and give Chris his oath, and then after that, I will ask Town Attorney Mr. Chuck Winfrey.
It's that mayor seat.
Too many Winfreys, is that what it says?
Yeah, exactly. Chuck Winfrey, to just explain the process to us, to the applicants, and to anybody here that may be interested in that. So, Robbie?
You have a Bible? Here you go.
Got one.
You get to use it, don't worry, Chuck. You get to use it.
I, Kenneth Christopher Sumner. Do solemnly swear. That I will bear support to the Constitution. And laws of the United States. I'll be faithful and bear true allegiance. To the state of North Carolina. To the constitutional powers. And authorities which are. Or may be established. For the government thereof. That I will endeavor to support. Maintain and defend. The Constitution and laws. Of said state. Not inconsistent with. The Constitution of the United States. To the best of my knowledge and ability. I will faithfully discharge the duties of my office. my office
as Town Board of Adjustment alternate member
as Town Board of Adjustment alternate member
for the town of Stokesdale, North Carolina.
for the town of Stokesdale, North Carolina.
So help me God.
So help me God.
All right. I'm going to make a motion that we recess the town council meeting.
I'll second.
All right, Jim?
Aye.
I'm aye, Jimmy?
Aye.
And Tim?
Aye.
All right. And coincidentally, we do need an alternate tonight, so,
Just happen to need one here.
yeah.
How convenient.
Who knew? If Mr. Sumner could join us?
Chris, thank you.
Maybe we'll get that nameplate off there.
Oh, yeah. Welcome, sir. All right. What else?
I'll be the best.
So, what I was gonna do next is call the meeting to order. Do you want to explain it before or after
Why don't
it's
you
called
call it order and then adopt the agenda, then I'll explain after the agenda.
Sure.
Okay.
Sure. All right.
This is it right here.
Did we skip citizens' comments? Or they gonna do it after the Board of
not there
Adjustment? Okay.
Yeah. Okay, I'll hereby call the Board of Adjustment meeting to order. First motion of business is to review and adopt the agenda. We have our agenda in front of us, gentlemen. Do you have any questions? I'm going to make a motion that we adopt the Board of Adjustment agenda as proposed.
Second?
All right, Jim?
Aye.
Am I? And
Aye.
Jimmy? Tim?
Aye.
And Chris?
Aye.
All right, motion carries 5-0. I will now turn it over to Mr. Winfrey. If you could please share with us the procedures and how this will work.
Thank you, Mr. Foy. So members of the Board of Adjustment are generally, under our ordinance, members of Town Council, but the Town Council, as you've seen, has also named an alternate member. All members serve without pay. This is a quasi-judicial board, meaning that all testimony will be under oath, findings of fact will be made, and a final action of the board is similar to a court decision. Anyone appearing before the board has a right to offer evidence, cross-examine witnesses, and inspect documents. The board will proceed according to the agenda, a copy of which has been approved. The board will first hear from staff with relevant information on the application. Upon the close of the staff's presentation, the chair may order the exhibits submitted into evidence and to be received by the board as evidence. Following the staff report, the board will hear from the applicant or their designee who may present evidence. That evidence will be sworn or it may be sworn or affirmed testimony, documentary evidence, or electronic evidence. Board members may ask questions at any time. The law limits the evidence that may be admitted and considered during the hearing. This is an important point. We're limited on what we can consider. And there are 4 factors that the law allows us to consider. One is whether the applicant would suffer unnecessary hardship as a result of strict application of the current regulations. 2, the hardship results from conditions that are peculiar to the property, such as location, size, or topography. Hardships resulting from personal circumstances, as well as hardships resulting from conditions that are common to the neighborhood or the general public, may not be the basis for granting a variance. 3, the hardship did not result from the actions taken by the applicant or the property owner. However, the act of purchasing property with knowledge of circumstances exist on the property is not considered a self-created hardship. And 4, the requested variance is consistent with the spirit, purpose, and intent of the regulation, such that public safety is secured and substantial justice is achieved. Though some introductory material is allowed, The board must make its decision only on the relevant information pertaining to those 4 points. In order to be approved, 4 of the 5 board members must vote to approve. North Carolina's rules of evidence will apply to this hearing, and it is my responsibility to object to information that is inadmissible or that is not addressed to the 4 factors that we've outlined above. The board may approve the application with conditions, so it's not an all up or down. The board can suggest conditions for the approval. And any interested person may appeal a decision of this board within 30 days of notice of the determination, and that appeal lies in Guilford County Superior Court.
Okay, thank you. So we have, next up will be our staff report. This is case number 24-02-BOA-000007. I'd like to introduce Mr. Justin Snyder, Guilford County Planner for the town of Stokesdale.
Just before we do that, I'll swear him in.
Okay.
And
Okay.
anybody else that wants to speak.
Anybody that wants to speak will need to be sworn in. Yes, sir.
Yep. So anybody that plans to give testimony for the Board of Adjustment hearing, any of the applicant or anybody else, I'll get you to stand, and I'm going to read a affirmation for everyone, and just afterwards, I'll have you sign it before you leave. Make sure you come and put your signature on it, and I just need to see your ID as well so I can notarize it. And, no, I can do it all at once. Here, this will work perfect. Yeah, does anybody wanna? We got extras. Yeah. Yeah. You just hold it in your left hand and raise your right hand. Oh, you got another? Let's see.
Y'all can share.
There you go, share. Okay, perfect. That works. All righty here, so I'm gonna administer your oath. If you agree with the statement that I'm about to read, just say I do or yes, whichever you prefer. Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the evidence you shall give to the board in this action shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God, or as your solemn affirmation?
Yes, I do.
All right, that's it. So, and I'll, just before all of you leave, I'll just get you to sign something for me. Or we can do it now. Would you rather do it now?
Let's get it over with.
There you go.
There you go.
Yeah, you better get it now.
Let's see. There we go, perfect. Thank you. I got you. That's right. So if you just see it, sign right there, you print it and sign it, and, well, yes. Perfect. Thank you, sir. All right, what's got next? You got your driver's license on, got you? I go ahead and say, hold on. What I'll get you to do, print your name up. It's not King James, but we'll have to do it. And I'll do that. You to be the witness. Okay. Gotcha. All right. Now, Lewis. Sign underneath that top line. I'll take care of the rest for you. That was Justin. All right, Thomas Johnson. That'll get it. Thank you very much. All right. Let's see, Daniel Myers. Thank you very much. Yes. All right. That's it.
Okay. Good to have all the proper autographs. I'd like to introduce Mr. Justin Snyder, Guilford County Planner for the town of Stokesdale. Welcome, Justin.
Thank you. So I'm now going to give my staff report. So Thomas and Carrie Johnson, owners of the subject property located at 7886 Eversfield Road, Guilford County Tax Parcel 236516, contains 1.02 acres plus or minus, and zoned agricultural. are requesting a variance from the Stokesdale Development Ordinance, Section 4-4.1, Agricultural and Single-Family Districts, subsection A, dimensional requirements for agricultural and single-family districts, and Table 4-4-1, Agricultural and Single-Family District Dimensional Requirements, specifically as it relates to the minimum required interior side yard setback of 15 feet in the AG Agricultural Zoning District. And this setback is for primary structures as well as for accessory structures that are greater than 600 square feet in area. The applicants are requesting an 8-foot setback variance to allow a 27-foot by 40-foot accessory structure to be constructed 7 feet from the northern side yard lot line. While they do state in the applicant the purpose is to construct a 3-car garage to house classic cars, staff would note that the ordinance does not distinguish the use of the accessory structure for the purpose of setback calculations for accessory buildings. Rather, it is the size of the proposed structure that puts it over the threshold of the 600 square feet that requires it to meet the full 15-foot side setback. And in your packets, there is a description of the agricultural district. The purpose is to preserve and encourage the continued use of land for agricultural, forest, and open space purposes, to discourage scattered commercial and industrial land uses, to concentrate urban development in and around area growth centers, thereby avoiding premature conversion of farmland to urban uses, and to discourage any use which, because of its character, would create premature or extraordinary public infrastructure and service demands. And the agricultural district is a single-family residential district, in addition to allowing certain agricultural uses. It's intended to accommodate those uses of agricultural nature, which also include farm residences, farm tenant housing, as well as scattered non-farm residences on larger tracts of land. It is not intended for major residential subdivisions. And so the specifics of this particular property, it's located 7886 Eversfield Road. The legal description is referenced in Deed Book 8731, page 1372. Setbacks per the agricultural zoning district for the front yard along a major thoroughfare, which Eversfield Road is classified as, would be 50 foot from the right-of-way line. Side yard would be 15 feet, rear yard 30 feet. The character of the area, the existing land use on the property is a residential single-family dwelling with an attached 2-car garage as well as a detached accessory outbuilding. Surrounding uses to the north are a single-family dwelling, zoned agricultural. To the south, a single-family dwelling and outbuilding, zoned RS30, single-family residential. To the east, undeveloped single-family residential land, zoned RS30. And to the west, single-family dwelling, zoned RS30. The area visual survey is that the area is primarily agricultural and single-family residential uses. Topographic and stormwater features of this site. There are no map streams on the site per USGS Topo Quad map and Guilford County Soil Survey map. There is no regulated floodplain on the site per the flood insurance rate maps. The existing site generally drains gently from north to south with slopes of 5% or less based on Guilford County GIS data viewer contour information. The northern portion of the site lies at approximately 918 feet, transitions to approximately 909 feet on the southern portion of the site. Also, the site is below 24% built upon area, which is considered low-density development in the NPDES general watershed area. Therefore, on-site treatment of stormwater would not be required. The notice information, the date of application is February 8th, 2024. Adjacent property owners were sent notice on February 27th of 2024. The sign was posted on the subject property February 27th, 2024. And we are at the hearing now, March 14th, 2024. Staff would propose the following findings of fact for this application. Number one, Stokesdale Development Ordinance Section 4-4.1A refers to Table 4-4-1, which states that the side yard setback for a primary building or any accessory structure larger than 600 square feet in area shall be a minimum of 15 feet from any side property line. Number two, there is currently one 2,760 square foot single-family home on the property. Number three, the property is served by private septic and the drainage field is located in the rear yard behind the house. The septic tank is next to the house to the south. Number four, a 12-foot by 27-foot, 324 square foot accessory shed is located in the southeastern portion of the property. Number five, the applicant shows 40 foot of distance between the septic drainage area and the rear property line. Number six, the applicant shows 45 feet between the septic tank and the south side property line. Number 7, the applicant shows 57 feet between the north side property line and the existing home. Number 8, Stokesdale's development ordinance in section 4-5.2 requires all accessory structures and buildings to be located behind the front building line of the principal structure when the lot is less than 2 acres. Number 9, the proposed accessory structure could be built in the proposed location and meet the required setbacks if reduced in size to 27 feet deep by 32 foot wide or smaller. This would be a reduction from the proposal of 27 by 40. Number 10, the existing house, as well as the homes to the north and the homes to the west, were all built with attached two-car garages. Number 11, the proposed accessory building is 1,080 square feet in area, which is 39% of the size of the existing dwelling, which is 270% the size of a traditional 20-foot by 20-foot, 400 square foot two-car garage. Number 12, there are no other properties in the Warren Place subdivision, of which this is a member, with a detached accessory structure that is larger than 400 square feet. Number 13, Lot 3, the subject lot at 1.02 acres in size, is the largest lot in the Warren Place subdivision, and it has the second widest average lot width. See Table E1 and Exhibits 12 and 13 in your packets, please. Number 14, the typical garage layout for equitable purposes in Stokesdale and most other communities is a two-car garage. Number 15, the garage is oriented north-south on the proposed plot plan. See Exhibit 11. The garage could potentially be oriented east-west and located on the opposite side of the home to allow a garage of intended size to be constructed while still meeting the required setbacks and other ordinance requirements. See Exhibit 15. Number 16, topography of the site is comparable in both drainage and slope to other lots in the same subdivision. See Exhibits 6 and 8. Number 17, houses on 7884, 7886, and 7888 Eversfield Road were all constructed by the same builder, AFC Rehab Solutions. And so I've given you various statutory and ordinance references. I will submit those to the Board of Adjustment as part of the record. And I also would submit to you, in addition to the staff report and the Board of Adjustment packets, including all exhibits 1 through 16, as well as my testimony, for inclusion into the record, please.
Thank you, Justin. All right, I believe next up, we will invite the applicant and any proponents of this up to the podium to enter their evidence.
Mr. Chairman, do you want
Yes, sir.
to receive these exhibits into evidence? They've been submitted. I just need for you to, if you want to receive them into evidence, just order that they be received as exhibits in this.
Okay, that'd be wonderful. And present any evidence you have for us.
No,
to-
I'm sorry, his exhibits, his report and his
Okay.
exhibits. We need to
Okay.
formally receive it into
Okay,
evidence.
we will formally receive, the Board of Adjustments formally receives the evidence as presented by Mr. Justin Snyder,
Including exhibits 1 through 16.
including exhibits 1 through 16. Okay, thank you. All right, welcome, sir.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Tom Johnson, homeowner at 7886. This evening, I'd like to give a brief introduction to the reason for the variance. As mentioned earlier in the execution of how this works, simply a story here to explain why I'm asking for it. I understand that answering questions 1 through 4 is the primary decision-making, so I've tried to elaborate my answers in this presentation tonight. A little bit taller than the average person here. So, good evening, everyone. My name's Tom Johnson, as mentioned. These are 2 pictures of the cars. A third will be followed on the next presentation. Next slide, please. There's a series of slides. So on the agenda, I've put together here tonight to kind of give you a brief introduction of who the Johnson family is, myself and my family, along with the research on the location of how we ended up in Stokesdale, North Carolina, back in May and through August of 2023. The variance request, answering the specific questions, a part of the application process, a few rebuttals to the provided options, which I looked at deeply and would be more than willing to entertain, pending they can work for my situation. A few clarification points, and then a summary of the variance request tonight here in the meeting. Thank you. So just real quick, I'm the new guy here in Stokesdale, North Carolina, relocated here officially August 1st, but bought the property in May of 2023. My wife, myself, and my 2 kids relocated here for my job recently in the state of North Carolina. I'm sure many of you know there's a lot of business growing here in the North Carolina region, and my employer moved me here along with about 5,000 other people over the next 2 years to build a new manufacturing plant. So we ended up moving about 4.5 hours from what was home in the state of West Virginia, but even farther away from what is family and original home, which is the state of Indiana. My wife and I did a lot of research and really liked this area of the north section of Greensboro, mainly because of the school system. We have 2 young children, 4 and 7 years old, and the northwest section of Guilford County became one of the highest ranked areas when doing research from an out-of-state member of such as myself and my wife. A very nice area, I must admit, and the housing market in the May 2023 section was extremely difficult to buy. We looked at over 100 houses, and in many instances, before I could even get to look at the house, it was already sold without even a chance to go and see said activity. So the property at 7886, we actually found by mistake of all things. I was going to purchase the house next to it at 7884, and by the time I got there, it is already sold, and I seen that they were building another house. I then began to inquire about it. So on the screen here is just a picture of my family and me attending a UNC Greensboro game, a quick map of the distance that I drive to and from work every day, because we do like the area. That is a very nice open area here in the northern section of the county. Next slide, please. So I wanted to give a quick introduction to the cars. A personal story here. My cars represent a family tradition of myself, so I'm an auto worker. The reason I'm here is because I work at Toyota plant down in Liberty, and my father is a 32-year retiree of General Motors, to which 2 of the 3 cars that are posted here on the screen he physically built in the assembly plant back in the 1970s. During my college years, I was able to acquire the gold car, and I spent about 6.5 years restoring it to its original condition that's known as the 1979 Pontiac Trans Am. During that time, my father was still employed at General Motors, although 6 plants later in 4 different states, we were able to acquire his employee information and found out that on the gold car, specifically tied to the VIN and the shift that it was made, he put on the air cleaner, which is in the center section of the hood. So spent about 6 years restoring that, and I have acquired thousands of photos of the plant that is no longer in existence. It was torn down during the 1980s. The second car, similar situation. It was also built at the same facility on the second shift. I found that car by chance and again restored it to its original glory from 1977. And the cream color car, known as the Lemonade that my daughter calls it, was my mother's first car as she was a 16-year-old driver back in the 1971 era of the automobile world. Not that specific car, but the same make and model. So when I come upon that car years ago, I purchased that vehicle as well. The house that we relocated from, I had ample garage door space. Quick pictures there shows that I had an attached 24 by 28 garage. One of those bays was used for my kids' accessories, bikes, Power Wheels. The other bay was used for one of these 3 cars. And then in the backyard, I had a full-size 28 by 36 that I housed the other 2 vehicles in at our previous residence in West Virginia. Next slide, please. As I moved to the location and began to put together a research of matrix options, I'm an engineer by trade, so everything I do is based on data. I put together a matrix on trying to determine where specifically to locate a garage that would fit the needs of the 3 cars that I needed to house based around the property. And I'd come up with the solution that I could see most feasible based on the application that I submitted for a variance onto the north side of the property, fendering into that 15-foot variation. Next slide, please. So the specific, I know we covered it, and I was not sure how that was going to go, so I put it in my presentation tonight. The specific request to the variance is to encroach on that 15-foot section on the north side of my property line, hindering into the 8 feet of the 15-foot utilization for the 27 by 40. Already discussed in the application process. Wanted to answer the 4 questions that is part of the process. I did state this on the application, but I wanted to provide the answers here as far as the activities required. So The harsh, the strict application of the side yard setback would reduce the size of my proposed garage, which in the reality of the situation, I would probably have to end up selling one of my 3 cars, as I don't have the needs or the ability to store it off-site in a storage unit for primarily 3 reasons. The first one is the sustainable cost over the period of the life cycle of the vehicle. Right now, I am doing a temporary option while I get the cars out of the weather, so they are being stored in an off-site storage location, and it's currently $120 per month per vehicle for those 3 storage units. Secondly, most of those facilities that I have acquired for the size that you need for a car do not have any heat or humidity control, which will cause rust and or mold or that type of thing for classic cars. And thirdly, I believe that based on my insurance notifications that it's not sustainable for me to have one of my classic cars sustainable off of my property residence, just based on the language in my insurance for my classic cars. The second question, the hardship, I provided some, and I'm sorry it's not coming through, but I provided a circle 1, 2, 3, and 4 to kind of give an idea on how I came up with that matrix and that location. But essentially, the location was chosen to not interact with already accessed items on the property. The 4 items being 1, the house, 2, the septic, 3, the septic repair, leach and repair area, and the well on the left-hand side, north of the property, in front of the proposed garage location. This is just answering the question that the house was already built prior to I did not choose the specific set location of the property. I purchased the house as it was already built. The foundation was there. The house was already built. It was a matter of drywall and carpet on the inside when I stumbled upon the property that was not for sale yet, but in the property in the process of being sold when I purchased the activity. And it's just showing the location of the septic, the well, and the repair area for the septic system of the house that we live in. The fourth one is a few things here. The prints there show what I want to do, and I want to match the house as physically possible to provide positive curb appeal for the house. With all due respect, we purchased the house for almost over $500,000, and I don't want to put a said pole barn like I had on my previous property. It was a different situation, different house, hidden into the mountaintop of where we lived, and so I wanted to do the right thing and put in a garage that would closely mimic the house. So as part of the architecture for what I'm requesting, it does match and has the same curb appeal as the house. While it is not brick, it is a vertical siding that is also a part of the house that I reside in today. And I did match the gutters and the roof and the doors to be curb appeal, look nice for the activity and as you're driving through the neighborhood and or the town of Stokesdale. I have a few just conversations that I wanted to provide is just my research and respect the fact that there was some options provided to me. I wanted to provide reasons why those particular options would not work in my case. The previous 2 garages that I provided examples of housed 1,288 square feet. The proposed 27 by 40, I've actually reduced that about 200, making it what I could physically fit the vehicles, the car parts, the utilities activity inside of 1,080 square feet. So simply put, the 600 square feet option is just not adequate for the 3 cars and all of the activity that goes along with having 3 vehicles. The second, Exhibit 15, the potential to alternate the garage location. I did spend about 2 or 3 days researching this out in my property. The garage without the drive in the front for the proposed location does come right up to the septic tank from the proposed map. The car links that I have, I measured them, they're roughly 16 to 17 feet. That proposed location provides me an 18 foot of clearance to the corner of the house. With that proposed location, it did not show the 2 HVAC systems that are a part of the dwelling that is located directly in the center on that south side of that property, which would further reduce the 18 foot clearance needed to clear the ability to move the vehicles in and out of that, meeting the 15 foot clearance on that side of the property as well. This is just 4 examples within 1.1 miles of my home that has other detached garages that are fairly large in size just from looking as I drive my daughter to and from school and I drive my son to and from basketball practice. There's quite a few houses within the surrounding area, not next door of me, of course, but within 1.1 miles that have fairly large garages that are visibly seen from the property, just driving down and to and from my daughter's elementary school and the Oak Ridge area to take my son to basketball practice. So the key point there is that there is some other garages that are detached, substantially sized within the surrounding areas of where my residence is here in Stokesdale, North Carolina. So in summary, tonight I'm here to request a variance to continue the build of the 3-car garage, to be able to do the stick-built garage, and look forward to creating a life here. I'm new to the area, and quite honestly, it's been probably the most stressful time of my life. New job, new location, no family. And the cars are something that's sentimental to me, and honestly, I'm here to ask for the understanding to agree or the approval to build the garage to house those cars for me and my family tonight. And thank you.
Thank you. And I don't believe we have paper copies of this presentation, but we will accept this as evidence because he has been sworn in. So that's evidence. Okay. Thank you. Thank you. Is there anybody else that would like to speak in favor of the request tonight?
Good evening. My name is Kevin Stewart, and I live at 7888 Eversfield Road. I'm his neighbor. So I'm like he said, me and my wife has no problem with him building the detached garage. And also, like, right down the street, there is another house that have a detached, you can see from the road, garage also. So as neighbors, we see nothing wrong with it. And like he said in his presentation, in the backyard where he can't build because of the restriction that the land has for back in the backyard. So, like I said, my name is Kevin Stewart, next door neighbor, and I am on Tom's side for him to be able to build his 3-car garage. Thank you.
You're on the side of the garage, right?
Yes.
Okay, I'll just make sure.
All right. Would anybody else like to speak in favor? Now we'll open it up for those that would like to speak in opposition of the request. All right. Seeing that there is no opposition. Mr. Winfrey, at this point, would we declare the hearing closed?
Yes, it would be appropriate to have a motion to close the hearing.
Okay.
On no other evidence being presented.
All right, I'll move to close the evidentiary hearing.
We don't do any discussion or question asking
Well, we will certainly do that after,
after you close it.
but is this
Is that
the hearing part?
Okay,
Okay,
okay.
is that correct?
That's right, yeah.
Okay.
All right.
And,
Well, I'll take it back. If there are questions for the applicant or questions of, you may ask that now, but during the public hearing might be the best time to do
Okay.
that before we close it.
Sure, sure. I'll do that. So we will keep the public hearing part open. Does the board have any questions for the applicant? I have one, and I do apologize if I've missed it. Mr. Schneider referenced, I believe there was other parts on the property where this could be built. Could you expand on that?
Yes, sir. He provided 2 options in I believe in the section 15 and 16 on the evidence section. One of them was rotating the garage 90 degrees and placing it on the south side of the property. That was part of the presentation that I was explaining. It butts right up on top of the septic tank. So that was option 1. Option 2, and I don't know where at in the filing of the paperwork, reducing the garage to that 600 threshold, which is part of the non-variance, is my understanding. And it's just not physically feasible based on the square footage of what I need to house the vehicles. I believe that was the only two options. I did study before I came in tonight, but I'm going blank right now.
Sure. Thank you for clarifying.
Can I ask a question, sir? So, so we're talking about, and correct me if I'm wrong, you're talking about 40 wide from the house, is that correct? So would it not be feasible to compress 8 feet to get you within the variance? You wouldn't be going down to 600 square feet like you said, you'd just be taking 8 feet off. That still leave you 32 feet, which is about 10 and a half feet per car. I understand the ideal situation would be to have room to move around. I just sold a 1980 Trans Am WS6, so I'm very familiar with having a car and, you know, not wanting anything to hit the side of it. But I also, you know, sometimes we, you know, had to pull it out and move things around. Just a question, have you considered reducing that 8 feet? And I think you could still get 3 cars in there, or maybe attaching it to the house. 'Cause I know you've got a gap there between the air handlers and the, you know, attaching it to the house, which would allow you to move it over several feet.
Yeah, I can start with question one. I have looked at it substantially. Actually, I have a set of prints that will equal the 32 by 27 if the variance is not approved, but it will be a 2-car. I don't think I'll be able to get 3 cars in there and the amount of equipment that I have. So I have different sets of tires. I have an array of toolboxes and like a auto parts store, if you will, with shelving that's sequential, that's tied to each of the cars. So the reality is, based on the square footage, I don't think I'll be able to put 3 cars in there, but I do have the prints ready in the event. I understand this is a yes/no type of situation. In the event that it's a no, I understand and respect that decision, and I'll reduce the size. The reality is I would probably have to get rid of one of the cars. I don't think it'll fit. I've tried it in CAD multiple times, trying to figure out how to make that work and have a feasible area for all the additional things that go in a garage for the upkeep of the vehicles. To answer the second question, on that side of the property, on the north side of the house, is where the main power line is. And that runs out of the side of the house and then into the backyard behind my neighbor's house. All of our power goes there. There won't be any feasibility to move it any closer based on that requirement by Duke Energy. I believe it's 36 inches for the ability to place footers or any type of that activity. So that not feasible at this point. Also on that side of the yard, I had a backup generator installed in the event of a power outage. In the world of ice and snow. My wife and I had a terrible time with that in West Virginia, so when we bought the house, the first thing we did was put up a home generator for the safety of the family during the outage months in the event of that. So getting it any closer is physically not practical. We did look at that as part of the layout of the overall decision matrix.
Great, thank you.
I too have a couple of questions that fall against the category of possibilities. Have you considered raising the vertical height of your structure and stacking one car over the other using one of the commonly available, you know, hydraulic lifts, and/or building a 2-car garage over where your driveway's at and putting some sort of single-car structure on the other side of the house to accommodate the third vehicle?
The second option I have not thought about, and that's a good opportunity for me to do some investigation. The first option, I did look at it. It's just not cost feasible. It was going to be around $25,000 to $30,000 more. Personally, I wouldn't be able to afford that. The height of the garage to put the lift in would require, I think we're at 10 foot now. It would require around 15 feet. So with that additional height and then different pitch of the roof, the activity to rebuild that, to structure that, and then the concrete for putting you got to have secured concrete for those lifts or they will cause substantial damage, as you guys have probably seen terrible photographs of them falling over if not properly installed. So I did look at that, but from a personal standpoint, I can't justify the cost of that. But it was on my decision matrix, yes. I did not think about that second option of a secondary source until just now when you brought that up.
Mr. Snyder, if the building were 27 by 20, it was under 600 square feet, it could be up to 5 feet It could be 5 feet from the property line.
That's correct. Anything under 600 square feet.
So, I mean, he can have a building half that size, about, and it could be up to 5 feet,
Correct.
even with the 27 feet or 40 feet or whatever, it wouldn't matter.
There would be adequate space on that southern side
I just-
for a one car.
Yeah, so it could, something could be there. What happens? If we give him this variance, what happens with the rule? Tell us about that,
With the what now?
the ordinance.
So a variance effectively supersedes the ordinance and becomes the ordinance for this property. So whatever's granted is what would follow in perpetuity, whether he sells the property or not, any future, the variance runs with the land.
It runs with, okay, but you're not saying it doesn't change the ordinance for the rest of the town?
No.
Just for that
But
property.
I will say there's case law that says that a variance granted in a neighborhood that has other lots with similar circumstances, it could be then extended, it should be extended to them as well.
Could you extend the fact that the neighbor, that the garage is on that side, extend that, put that in that fact, that, the neighbor was okay with it? Because as far as I'm concerned, it's, those two folks' business.
I don't think that's
That own the property. I mean, you're an owner, correct? Yes, sir. Okay, you're not renting, you're owner, okay.
Yeah, the fact that someone may consent to it doesn't address the four factors. I mean, I guess if you wanted to say the fourth factor dealing with substantial justice, I guess may be related to that, but.
Yeah.
But that's, but as far as the other factors, that wouldn't be germane, I wouldn't think.
If the gentleman on the other house had came in and said, I don't want that,
Right.
it would have been easy.
Mr. Stewart didn't think that was a feasible option based on his utilities.
Okay.
His well and water and septic repair area at times appear to be, based on the county map, within that 15-foot on his side, of course, but it didn't seem feasible for his well to be on my side of the property if I were to rezone.
When the plat was recorded, the developer said these were kind of the minimum dimensions. So, for example, so it states that the side setbacks are 10 feet. On the plat are contracts between the parties, essentially. So it doesn't affect our decision, except that you may get back to this general fairness question under topic 4, is it substantial justice being done? So that's where, I guess, the neighbor's consent to it comes into play. That 10-foot setback is